Hi guys! So basically today we're going on the beach and getting blown to shit. Whilst Kimberly here does some leaps and stuff with some balloons. And Chloe here's basically assisting, also going to be shooting as well. So hopefully it goes really well.
Yeah.
If it, I might have
your leg is high, my leg.
that one there, or is that one? That's probably the higher one, isn't it? Once you jump, it'll be fine. Huh?
Oh dear me.
Yeah. So guys, I had a bit of difficulty there with the microphone because it was actually really windy, and it's a case of there was no point trying to listen to us, and then the microphone was just getting blown out, even with a sort of dampener on the microphone as well. So yeah, basically it was just a fun shoot. There was nothing, nothing planned really. We knew we were going to get some balloons. Kimberly was going to turn up in some sort of dance wear, that's easier for her to move around and do some kicks and jumps and things. And we managed to get a few. It was seriously windy though. It wasn't really letting off. There was just a constant pressure, and then it would just get bigger and then just drop back to that constant pressure again. So we had real trouble holding on to the balloons, if anything. Also had an umbrella that was actually broken. It was definitely broken as soon as Kimberly opened it, which was pretty funny. And this shot here, for example, she was trying to leap off, but the wind was so strong it was knocking her off balance as she leapt. So trying to get the first few jumps to get used to it and everything was actually quite difficult. The balloons basically just did their own thing. They're just basically trying to smash her in the face every 10 seconds. You're shooting a wireless flash. I just had a flash gun just on the floor aimed up, so just a bit of a fill-in because we were shooting into the sun. Which was actually quite handy because it was actually being quite well diffused by the thin cloud. As you can see there on my screen, just about, the A7R3 is literally just doing 10 frames a second, boom, 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 tracking focus absolutely fine, and yeah, it didn't miss a shot at all. So we were using high-speed sync triggers, the Pixel King Pros, and my HVLF Sony. The HVLF 60AM, which is the high-end one. I had it on quarter power, I think, and it wasn't struggling to keep up at all. It would stop after probably 7 or 8 shots. I've got some high-powered 3000 milliamp batteries in there, and they were freshly charged. Yeah, so we got some good shots at the end of the day, and then a military Apache appeared, which I could hear it, and I think, what the hell's that? And I thought, oh, it's an Apache. So quickly grabbed the Sony RX10 Mark IV off the tripod it was just videoing, and quickly zoomed in for this shot. So it just proves its worth. That camera, there's no way I could get a shot with the A7R3 with an 85mm lens on, so straight to 600mm, and I've cropped in a little bit there just so you can see, but the actual pilot, you can see, was actually looking at us, which was quite funny. Probably wonder what the hell was going on with some flappy balloons and a girl jumping around. I mean, we spent maybe half an hour, I suppose, on the shoot because it was literally just, it was too windy. We couldn't really do much with it. It was a case of just keep jumping, keep jumping, keep jumping. Kimberly eventually, I think, was starting to hurt a little bit because she was jumping in ballet shoes for most of it onto the stones. The A7R Mark III, absolutely flawless, worked every single shot perfectly, and obviously the slow motion, 500 frames a second on the Sony RX10 Mark IV is really, really good in really good light. So the light was pretty nice. We're shooting towards the sun, but it still performed pretty well. I do find because it's actually at 500 frames a second, it isn't HD as such, but it does step it back up to HD when it saves it as a video file. So you do have to do a little bit of sharpening and a little bit of extra upscaling to get a sharpish, just a little bit extra sharpness into the shot. Otherwise, it does look a bit soft. It's quite difficult because you have to try and focus it perfectly on your subject. As you can see here, I've then slowed it down even more, so she's up in there a little bit longer. Burst 500 frames a second, and then I speed it back up very slightly just so she drops down a bit quicker. But it's a brilliant tool, great fun. It just shows you what's going on in the shot, because it happens, when you're actually taking the shot, it's happened within a few hundredths of a second. So seeing it in slow motion, it's actually quite a cool tool to use, and actually, believe it or not, it still looks good on a 100-inch projection screen in HD. So this bit here, we just let the balloons go in the end just to see how fast they would accelerate, but it's actually at 17 times slower than real time. So they were gone really, really quick. But another successful shoot in all. We had the umbrella shot, which I think that's probably my favourite one of the day. The balloons were really good. Supplied by a local florist, the Floral Boutique in Robertsbridge. A lady called Sandy there, lovely lady. So she supplied the balloons for me. Yeah, so that was good. Trying to get them to the boot of the car this morning was quite funny. But this shot here was kind of just a thought just as we left the car, because I've got an umbrella in the car, but I remembered it had been broken, so I thought I might as well break it even more. So it failed within seconds of being opened. As you can see here, it was knackered, but as you can portray in the image, it looks like she's being pulled and the umbrella's broken. So kind of did its job. So as you can see there, the 500 frames a second, super smooth. You can shoot at 1000 frames a second, but it does lose quality even more, and the sharpening needs to be a bit more careful, and stuff like that. So yeah, we had quite a few non-usable images, unfortunately, because Kimberly's hair has just been blown everywhere, yeah, so it made it a little bit difficult to get as many shots as we wanted. But actually, we didn't do too bad. This is one of the last shots just before she let go of the balloons, and I was amazed she could actually stand up like that, because it was seriously windy, and she held that for a good 5-6 seconds. And another shot here, just completely backlit by the sun, with the balloons actually light up quite nicely. With my flash gun, just lighting Kimberly just enough to fill in. And that's it, guys. So please subscribe and keep sharing and following the other videos that are coming, and check out the other ones I've got already.